Hey everyone, I'm Clue. So, a little bit different today. I want to start covering Flesh and Blood news, so we're going to go through a couple of the articles that are of interest that I've seen. Obviously, we're going to talk about Outsiders, the next set that's coming out. There are a few things I wanted to look at because this really caught my eye. So, ProQuest Season 3 has begun, and like usual, they're awarding winners gold cold foils. Awesome. Such a fabulous prize card mechanic because cold foils and then they have a special gold variant is just it's like the judge foils from MTG, which are awesome, but obviously for players, and it feels significant because you can either keep it as a trophy or momentum, or you can sell it, and it's like an injection of prize money. So it's a cheap way for them to actually make their prize pool larger, which is just awesome. And it's awesome to see that they are sought after in the community. But what really caught my eye are these. How dope do these look? These resource point metal coins. I'm hoping that you can slot in the resources. So like you need one coin and then three of the resources. And you just slot them in to indicate how many resources you have. Even if it's three different coins, that's still decent. They just look so sick. I'm definitely going to try and have to pick some up once people start winning them. Because unfortunately, again, I'm rural, so I don't have the opportunity to really start trying to play competitive. Not that I'm at that point. I'm still very much learning the game. But I just thought it was interesting. Nothing really else on the ProQuest side of things to talk about. It's just begun. Head out to your local LGSs, sign up. It's free. Just start getting points, rack up, watch it. It's awesome. The competitive scene for Flesh and Blood is just going to grow and grow. It's fantastic to see. Now, the biggest piece of news. Flesh and Blood has gone to Japan. So, the fact that it is now, well, it says early access begins, but they have a roadmap and everything, and they're really trying to hit the Japanese market. I think the art style is going to be a bit jarring, but the play style, the tempo of the game is very much suitable for a Japanese and a Chinese audience. Like in high school, I used to sit with some Chinese friends, and they had this insane card game where everyone was just dumping cards onto a pile over and over again. And that's honestly the type of mentality is they like quick action games. It's sort of why MTG is not as huge as it could be in Japan, whereas things like Pokemon, obviously Yu-Gi-Oh, it's not just because those games originated, or I should say the source material, it's because of the tempo of the game. They like something quick, they like high action, they like high thought. And that's what Flesh and Blood has to offer. So it's great to see that they're hitting the Japanese market. They've got, their normal mentality or roadmap set out. So they're going to start with obviously gems, so that's the storefronts, all the different welcome and armory events, and then of course they're going to enter the competitive scene and start building up a Japanese competitive scene. And I mean, all these smaller Asian states. Is that the correct terminology? States? You know what I'm trying to say, like Taiwan. Not Taiwan, that was a bad one. Singapore, I think I've seen Taiwan. All these people, all these states that... How do I want to put this? I don't want to come off too pushy. But countries where the lower demographic wants to learn a language like English, they'll turn to things like cartoons, TV shows, and games because they're the easiest way to start picking up the language. And we've already seen there's a whole lot of Flesh and Blood going on in these countries because it's not as complex as MTG, Yu-Gi-Oh, Pokemon. The lingo or the jargon is very much simplified and consistent across cards, and it's very straightforward. So I do think it's going to be a huge success in Japan, and I can't wait to see for more information. I know I'm not reading them too much, I just want to highlight these things. The article I am going to read, of course, is going to be Outsiders, the next set for Flesh and Blood. So, Outsiders is a standalone booster set that takes you down to the pits, the sprawling web of underground caverns and canals, home to all manner of backstabbing and skullduggery. Could you get any more New Zealander or Aussie than that phrasing? So, Outsiders is the first Flesh and Blood draftable set to feature multiple heroes within each class, making it the most dynamic draft experience yet. You're drafting Assassin, but are you Arachne or Uzari? Drafting Ranger, Azalea or Riptide, drafting Ninja, Katsu or Benji. So this is great to see. So 6 heroes, straight away, fantastic. The token slot is highly underutilized and needs a lot more clutter in there, and just having their base weapons, armor, and now obviously the 2 extra heroes are normal. great idea. Each hero has their own strengths, strategies, and card preferences. You'll find yourself wanting to draft outsiders again and again to explore the depths of the pits has to offer. I love this mentality. I would honestly, I would love to see a set that is just one hero. So imagine Arachne, which is what they're doing. They're expanding upon the assassin. But if Dynasty, for whatever reason, had been something else, like they could just change it for the Dynasty, and it's just a group of assassins going and taking out the Emperor. You could have still thrown him in as the Cold Fall and whatever, but if you just centered the set around him, it makes the set a whole lot more appealing to anyone who wants to play that hero. And that mentality is a great thing to have because it creates a desirability and also a necessity for the set. So for instance, Magic. You go to a standard set, you have your standard rotation and block, so you want cards from there. There's not a whole lot of desire or necessity to the set as a whole. Generally, you pick out cards you want. If a set was dedicated to a hero type, has all the staples, all the different mechanics that you want to sort of mix and match, then anyone who wants to learn Assassin, wants to play Assassin, or wants to delve into it, would then go to that set specifically. It's why I like the Light and Shadow stuff, because it gives Monarch a benefit that other sets doesn't have. I like the Elemental stuff because it gives Arya a benefit that only those sets have. If you want to experience that type of gameplay, you need to go back to that set. It's not just about seeing the cards from that set or seeing different mechanics. It's actually, you want to play X hero, you need that set. And if they really pinpointed this, I think it would be quite successful, even if they started releasing smaller sets. So instead of maybe 16 booster packs, instead of 24, they did 16 booster packs, and they did 3 variants of each hero, and a block could be 2 of them. So you have your main set, and then maybe a month or 2 later you have these smaller sets that are specific to certain classes. I think that mentality could work. But we'll continue reading. We don't need to look at the product sheets because it's down below anyway. So heroes. Mix of new heroes returning. Fan favorites are featured. And returning. Fan favorites are featured in Outsiders. New heroes include Uzari, a spider operative assassin and ringleader of a band of misfits, and includes a new version of Arachne, Riptide, a trap-based ranger. I'm curious why they didn't give a new variation to Azalea. Even just new art or slight tweak, maybe, I don't know, stats that are slightly different, but they did. It's curious. We'll see why. However, not all things start out as they become, and the past always seems to have a way of infiltrating our present. A duo of wandering Mysterian ninjas threatened to trigger memories of Uzari's origin, a time and place where she didn't fit in, where she felt like an outsider. That's a girl. Oh, right. Yes. Strong, confident girl. It's interesting. That looks like Arachne. But obviously he's this new version, which seems pretty epic to me. I love like the disheveled, insane, like the Batman Joker. Awesome. So, we can't see, damn. We can't see any of their abilities. But yeah, so we've got our new heroes, obviously young and old, 2 rangers, 2 assassins. There's no older version for the new Arachne. That's interesting. I think maybe it's just a tweak to his blitz to make it a bit more competitive, because he is quite a slow hero, as I've learnt trying to play. My best matchups against Fatigue. Katsu and Benji. Also curious that they didn't do an older version of Benji. Anyway, hybrid cards. Outsiders introduces new hybrid cards that can be played by 2 different heroes. Hybrid cards enhance the drafting experience, allowing you to keep options open. Fantastic. Not quite what I would like to see, but it is a step in the right direction. I like to see cards that support hybrid heroes more so than obviously hybrid cards, because all this does is mean that they can create a larger set without increasing the number of cards in the set, because they can have cards double. But I would like to see mechanics that start to benefit the heroes that have dual abilities or dual classes. Is that the right word? Like, I really want to see stuff that, for a battle mage maybe, and then they can come out with more warrior wizards or guardian wizards. But this is definitely a step in the right direction. So we have our sorry, I'll get to I'm laughing in a second. We have our Codex of Frailty. Each hero puts an attack action card from their graveyard face down to the arsenal. Each hero that does discards a card. So this is Assassin Ranger. So I'm curious to see if Uzari will have something to do with the arsenal, because obviously Azalea and all the Rangers gimmick is the Arsenal. There's not a huge benefit to sticking card in your Arsenal as Arachne. There are a few cards you want to, but they're mainly generics. So interesting to see. Create a Ponder token under your control and a Frailty token under each opponent's control. Ponder tokens are really great. You really want to restock your hand so you can play defensively as these types of heroes, because you're really trying to dish out damage and then be able to stack your hand, and just being able to have that one extra card that you can now slot into your arsenal before you redraw is really beneficial. But the reason I laughed, so obviously MTG did sketch cards and they were god awful. Everyone hated them because they weren't really sketch cards. They were these watered down, stripped back, almost grayscale versions of the cards. They weren't special. But this, this has the proper level of detail. It's not this codex in its early stages. It's literally, this reminds me of a recipe. How do they research notes? Perfect. This is literally research notes. This is someone, studying anatomy, studying plants, and this is really cool to see. I'm curious, foiling-wise, how it's going to look, because I don't know how to highlight this in a way that doesn't detract from its overall appeal. Like this, just as a almost tarot card style-esque as it is now, would look great. Maybe just the slots cold foiled. Even then, there you can see the color. Like, they haven't just slapped on the color; they've actually made it look like it's been hand drawn. And it's funny to see that they keep. Well, everyone's doing it nowadays. Everyone is literally just one-upping Wizards of the Coast because they are just sinking their game for greed. Ponzi? The other D&D company. I'm not big on D&D. I think it's called Ponzi or Ponzu. Obviously coming out with backlash against the open game license that Wizards wants to rework to capitalize on D&D, but that's not the story. But yeah, it's funny to see. Because essentially that's really all you have to do. If you saw Wizards release a new style card, if you could just one-up it, that's the best thing you could possibly do. New hybrid cards. Sorry, we read that. 3 most iconic hybrid cards. Oh, only 3 as well. Interesting. Appear as Marvel research notes that perhaps hold the answers to origins of the 3 deadly diseases that plague the inhabitants of the pits. I do like this 3 most iconic. I don't know if that means there'll be other Marvel cards, because they did this rule of 3 in Dynasty as well. So you had the Emperor, you had the Illusionist card, and you obviously had the Mechanologist card. So they had 3 really fantastic Marvel, the double-sided cards, and then they had the other style, which, to be honest, I'm not too happy with. The weird black border instead of extended art seemed kind of weird, to me at least. It didn't fit the theme of these Marvel cards that are meant to be this awesome art variation. But I like the fact that they're not doing every single card in this style. That's just, it's awful to see. I mean, what else? What else can you really say? Wizards knows what they've done wrong. Everyone knows what they're doing wrong. Make everything special, nothing special. Everyone says it. That type of mentality. So the fact that they're making sure to rein this type of stuff in, awesome. Release events. Don't have to worry about them. Configuration, so it's usual, about 240 cards, good to see. 1 Fable, 5 legendaries. That seems like a bit more than usual. And no, so it is only 3 marbles. There are no other variations. Do I like that? No. To me, marbles should slot in under legendaries. At this current rate, though, they are better than legendaries. Even though there's obviously more copies of the cards, they will be harder to pull than legendaries. So I feel like it should have been 8 or so, maybe 3 of this special, and then go back to the extended art. I mean, I'm sure there'd be some sort of cards, even if it's just hero variations. I would have just loved to see. I mean, you've got 6 right there. If you just put in a Marvel version that's cold foil, flip it. Well, not for Benji, because I have cold foil Benji, and no reason to ostracize the version I have, which only has the bordered cold foil. gets me every time. The fact that they cold foil everything now. Well, not everything, but they obviously do the hero and makes it look so mint. Whereas old school, it's just the border. But yeah, definitely I would have liked to see more than 3. This also makes me laugh. So, I don't know how it is in the US. I feel like this is wrong too. I feel like most stores sit it at 80 to 90. But I know here in Australia, no one... Like, if you're buying from somewhere that sits it at 160, don't buy from there. You can find it a lot cheaper elsewhere. I think generally you can find them for about 120. At least all the lay sets since they've done the price increase. MSRP less 20. I don't know the map. I guess that's maybe for early release stuff, maybe? I don't know. But yeah. You can't really say anything. They would have taken a hit from the COVID level drop-offs. I mean, imagine, like Monarch, I would honestly strongly believe that they're sitting on some themselves. They don't. It didn't all go out, and then with the price drop, they'd have to be sitting on some too. Everywhere got hit by COVID, so everywhere had to hike up prices. There's the cardboard issue or the paper issue, whatever it is at the moment. It is what it is. If you enjoy the game, if you enjoy the company, spend a little bit extra. And I mean, Flesh and Blood isn't sticking a set down your throat every couple of months. They're reasonably spaced, and you don't even need to, go out on a limb and buy huge amounts. You don't have to buy other variants. Support them. They're definitely good. Okay, artwork. What's the box artwork looking like? Mission Impossible is what comes to mind. Like they've just ransacked somewhere and boom. Epic cinematic explosion behind them as they do the movie walk. The fighting. I know, I enjoy the art style. They seem to mesh proper polish with obviously this classical art. Well, not art, but like, what's the term? No heavy lines. It's like there's no outlines on anything, yeah? It's all just colors and shadows, so to speak. Interesting. How do I get back? Okay, decks. So, how many do they have? Wow. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So they've got all 6 heroes blitzes in 6 different decks. I like this more so. I think Dynasty with the 2 heroes and then keeping the same display format was a poor choice. Simply because obviously who wants a display that has, 3 copies of each hero? Like I would be more invested now to buy a display. I mean, they corrected it for Monarch and Tails, right? Tails there was only 3, and it was 2 copies of each maybe, and then Monarch it was still a brick of 4. I think just having a set where it's all the heroes, and then that also makes it easier on the store to buy it and then split up, because obviously you buy one, you get 1 of each, you split up. But then also, honestly, having the option of having just, I don't know, maybe 10 packs of each hero. Because there's definitely going to be heroes here that outsell the others. I mean, a new Azalea Blitz deck, you got to compare it to the old deck and see what's worth it more. Obviously, it's hard to get a Arcane Rising, right? Or is she in WTF? No, I'm pretty sure it's Arcane Rising. An Arcane Rising... Do they even do decks for Arcane Rising? I can't remember now. Katsu... Interesting to see because you compare it to the Ira deck, the 2018, 2019. They did 2, whichever the first edition and the second edition called. But yeah, so 1 of each hero. They're the standard, 40 cards, plus hero weapon and equipment cards. Design is fun, fast way to play, perfect for the kitchen table. By far the best starting point. These are really playable decks. You can easily transition them to constructed as well. I would just make a staple card list of generics that you can just slot into them. It's super simple to do. I mean, there's cards like, say, Plunder Run that like Azalea doesn't want because you can't stick it in your arsenal, but someone like Arachne or Katsu does because it just allows you to benefit. And there's all these cards that you can honestly make just a a 10 card, a 20 card staple block of generic cards that you can then slot into any of these decks. Crank it up to 60, change out the hero, and you're good to go. March 17th to 20th. Marketing assets, and then just a cool new background. Does look pretty epic. I am surprised though with the initial art. Like I saw the mechanologist style Mad Max chick on the front, and I thought they were going to go that route. I thought they were going to go with a more scavenger-ish mechanologist. I definitely saw the assassin. I didn't see ninjas coming into play, but it's from a narrative point. They're tying it back in. They're here to find Uzari. It'll be interesting to see and watch it unfold. I'm not going to read the dialogue stuff. I do like lore. This is not how I ingest it, to be honest. I will just go to like wiki summaries and absorb it that way. But yeah, interesting set. I'm definitely gonna buy it. I've been buying every set since their inception. If you haven't played it yet, play it. Just log on to Teleshare, use one of the Blitz decks, constructed decks, give it a go. It's a fun game. Hope you enjoyed. Hope you found it interesting. Can't wait to see the next set. It's always my mentality is, like, for whatever reason with Flesh and Blood, I want the next set. I want them to just cram more sets down my throats, or even just announce them. But they do put a lot of thought and love and passion into their sets. Hope you enjoyed. See ya.